So during the time of the warlord, Sun Yat-sen would actually keep the idea of a united Chinese Republic alive. His goal was actually to establish a rival government in Guangzhou, southern China, and go from there to fight against the warlords in the north and their Beiyang government and clique and the warlords. So upon returning from exile in 1917, Sun Yat-sen revived his banned nationalist party, the Kuomintang, but this time gave it the new name, the Kuomintang of China. His plan was actually, after defeating the warlords, that the party would guide China until the country would be ready to move forward towards democracy. So the rival government led by Sun Yat-sen, however, was actually at a disadvantage against the warlords from a military point of view, let's just say. So despite his request for aid from the West, mostly Britain, America, and surprisingly even Japan, badly needed financial and even armed support never arrived to the country, except for one interesting source. So in the 1920s, the Kuomintang eventually received help from from a surprising source, or not so surprising, the Russian Bolsheviks. Material aid from Russia was actually good enough for Sun Yat-sen, as a Mosin Nagant was better than a Guangzhou or longsword, something like that, who had also previously shown flexibility with the questions of what the promotion of the republic should be like. So he was neither sympathetic towards Marxism, nor did he see communism as the solution for China's problems. In Sun's view, China was not the nation of the rich and the poor, but rather it was the country of the poor and the poor. The guidelines for the Kuomintang were actually based on Sun's three principles of the people, which were nationalism, democracy, and the people's livelihood, which was socialism. So the Kuomintang gradually became more powerful and disciplined, partly under the Russian guidance, and the decisive factor was actually the Bolshevik assistance to the Kuomintang in the formation of its own army. So the Kuomintang gradually became more powerful and disciplined. And a disciplined army and party under the Russian guidance. The decisive factor was actually when the Bolshevik assistance to the Kuomintang in the formation of its own army, the Nationalists or the National Revolutionary Army. So in order to train the army, the Wampiao Military Academy was actually established in Guangzhou. So as the director, Sun appointed the loyal supporter and infamous Chiang Kai-shek. So financially, the Wampiao Military Academy operated with the support of the Soviet Union. The quality of the education was actually guaranteed and granted by regular visits from Russian officers, both white and red. Yes, both. Yeah, white as in the army, but you know what I mean. Many of the leaders from both the Kuomintang and even the Chinese Communist Party actually graduated from, the academy. The chief commander of the People's Liberation Army, Lim Biao, would actually graduate from Wampiao Military Academy. So did Zhou Enlai, who later became the premier of China and was foreign minister, I believe, for a time. So the Soviets had their own interest in supporting the Kuomintang. Let's not get it twisted. Things are never free. So the Bolsheviks, in exchange for their help, demanded that the Kuomintang form an alliance with the Chinese Communists. Moscow was actually not convinced that the Communist Party alone would be able to complete the revolution in China, or the country, which was thought to be ready for communism right after the bourgeoisie destroyed the old Chinese dynastic system. China's newly founded Communist Party had only like a few hundred members by the beginning of 1920, as it was made in 1918, 1919, whereas Kuomintang had over 50,000 since 1911 and was actually growing pretty rapidly. So the idea was that the communists would actually gain broader support by joining the Common Front with the warlords. Right, so the nationalists, the warlords, stuff like that. After which they would actually eventually take over the Kuomintang as the leaders, right? So at the request of the Russians, the Chinese communists, among them the most infamous Mao Zedong, or Chairman Mao, became members of the Kuomintang, and thus the first coalition of the two parties was born. Cheers, champagne showers. Alright, so with the help of the Soviet Union, the Kuomintang did succeed in gaining some more support from a broader spectrum of people. And with the renewed vehemence and the vengeance and its continued vigorous pursuit of its goal, which was the unification of the Republic of China. So, securing its grip on southern China, the Kuomintang was ready to unite the country by launching a military campaign against the North, or the warlords, or the Northern Expedition of 1926 to 1928. Now, the coalition with the communists, however, was actually a pretty forced union held together by their common enemies, which were the warlords and the imperialists. So after the death of Sun Yat-sen in 1925, cooperation began to really weaken, and the right wing of the Kuomintang soon put the end to the brotherhood with the Soviet Union and the Chinese communists. So let's not get it twisted. The first united front was formed so that the KMT and the CCP could join together to strengthen China. The initial aim was actually to help defeat the warlord threat through the Northern Expedition from 1926 to 1928. But both parties held an ulterior motive for this alliance, because nothing in this world is free. Anyway, so the CCP formed merely so that it could spread communism throughout the KMT numbers, throughout the countrysides. When they should be attacking the warlords, they're actually reading and educating the peasants instead of fighting, and just generally spread communism throughout China, which they should. While Chiang Kai-shek's aim, or the KMT aim, was actually to control the Communist Party from the inside out, or control opposition. Having said that, he was also the main reason why the relationship actually fell apart in the first place, due to his desire to control the Communist Party and all of China, ultimately leading to the disintegration of the United Front. So after purging the communists and the Soviet advisors from Wampiao Military Academy, and his nationalist army during the 1926 Canton coup, Chiang Kai-shek went on to kill a large number of communist forces from mid-1927, which was also aptly called the Shanghai Massacre. And mid-1927 is when they were almost a year finished from the Northern Expedition as well. It was also considered a purge initiated by Chiang Kai-shek as well, which occurred about halfway through, or pretty much the end, going on to the end of the Northern Expedition. So Chiang wanted to control all of China, and controlling all of China would mean controlling the Communist Party, which would make this a lot easier for him as control opposition. His purge ultimately ruined the Union. However, it would also result in the Civil War that would rage until 1949, but which was also postponed when the two sides formed the Second United Front to combat the Japanese in the Second Sino-Japanese War, or the war against the Japanese imperialists, or more commonly known to everywhere, even the Soviets, that had their Soviet-German War, as the Pacific War of World War II. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. That one was actually a bit better. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I filmed this in a bucket, so hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you later. Learn something. Walk both sides of the street. Remember, alliance is only as strong as its weakest link. And alliance ends with N. Because if you put a D on it, it ends with, you know what I mean, like friends, end, you know what I mean. Alliances, allies, belligerents never last forever. So just treat people like people. Treat them as your friend. They are one specific person. Do not ally yourself with a whole group, because they do not represent the whole group. Anyway, if you know, you know. If you don't want to be, you want to be ignorant, that is your problem. But till next time, we're going to unite China in the Northern Expedition. Or probably talk about Somali MiGs. Something I want to do. Anyway, till next time, this is Darkside Phil. Signing out. Phil Bornelli, dude. Anyway, learn something, my guys.